Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the In Between Podcast. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the In Between Podcast with your host, as always, Kyle McLemore. Thank you so much for tuning in, and before we get too far along in the podcast, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. It's much appreciated, and if there's one thing that keeps this show going, it's all of your likes and subscriptions. So thank you so much for tuning in. Here we are crossing the 50 marker line. Oh boy, I should have way more than 51, but I am one procrastinating son of a bitch. Yeah, so thank you so much for tuning in, trying to keep these podcasts going, trying to keep the length extended. To think that there was once a time when my goal was like 10 to 15 minutes. Boy, to go back to those days would be real nice, but here we are in the 30-minute or more range, so here we go. Thank you so much for tuning in. What's new with you guys? Oh, what's that? What? You recognize what I'm wearing? That's right, representing the LA Kings. Go, Kings, go. By the time that this podcast airs, the Kings will either have been eliminated from the playoffs or will be heading into Game 7. That's right, they took an early lead in the series, but unfortunately, Edmonton caught back up in dramatic fashion. You know what's a real... oh, man. Edmonton is good, and you know what is a bummer is that LA is awesome, but LA is not the biggest hockey town. It is a little bit of a bummer because anytime that there's like a LA home game, they always cut to like the Edmonton. Let's cut to Edmonton and see what the fans are doing there. And it is just like an ocean of people in the streets of the city. And they're just like, yeah. It's like, unless LA actually wins the cup, then we might get some crowding in LA. But it just kind of is a bummer that LA is not as huge into hockey as other cities. But having said that, it's a very exciting series. The series has been insane, with like each game over like 8 to 9 points, like, which is insane in hockey terms. Man, and then the last game too. Every single game, my heart rate is jacked. My heart rate is up above 100 every single time because each of these games is hella exciting. And then the last one, I thought it was a lot. LA took like a early 3-0 lead, and I'm just like, oh, I can turn this off. I don't even need to watch the rest of the game. Cut to second period where Edmonton ties it up, takes the lead. I think we went into overtime. They ended up winning. It's still extremely entertaining, still very exciting, but still would prefer LA to kick some ass. Game 6 back in LA. So we'll see. That's tonight. And you know I'll be watching. So go, Canes, go. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if they survive to make it deeper into the playoffs. I know that there was a time when I can be quoted as saying, oh, I'll just be happy if they make the playoffs. I don't even care how far they go as long as they make the playoffs. That's a win. Hey, that's a lie. I won't be happy until they raise that cup above their head. Once you get a taste of the playoffs, you just want more and more. I don't even know who I'm going to root for if they get knocked out. The Knights, I guess? I know it's weird being in the same division, but I do like the Knights. I like a lot of teams in the Western Division, and the Knights are crushing. I think they're dominating the Jets. I think their series is over. I think they did like a 4-1 series. I think that series is done. And Knights have been like number one in the Western Division like all year long. So I guess I don't even want to think about it. I just want to focus on Go Kings Go. Let's get that done in LA. Let's get a win in LA. We'll see how it goes, but what else is new with you guys? Because just the other day, I did something. Iced Americano, as always. Dunkin'. So the other day, it was the 40, 83, 93, 2003, 13, 20, 40. It was the 40-year anniversary of Return of the Jedi. That's right, released originally in 1983. It was back in theaters, and I just had to go, especially because it wasn't just in theaters. It was in the one over by where I go. It wasn't just like a standard. It was in the RPX, which is like the bigger screen, the louder theater, which is like, yeah, dude, I want to hear that intro music as loud as possible. I want to hear James Earl Jones loud as hell in the theater. Now your training as a Jedi is complete. So good. But yeah, there is a moment that, God, as a straight up nerd alert for Star Wars, there is a moment that is just like indescribable. I don't know how to describe the feeling, dude. It is the 1 second pause between when it comes on the screen a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, fade to black, and then there is a 1 second pause, maybe 1.5 second before that music fucking bam, and it's like, dude, when that music hits in theater, in the theater, loudspeakers, that music blaring, it is such an amazing feeling, because it is like for just 1 second, for just one moment in time, I am like simultaneously linked with the past like 40 plus years of every single person who has been in that seat looking at the screen as it just fucking bang, and then that Star Wars goes across, dude. It is like this energy, this just feeling of being like, this is like the same exact experience that someone had 40 years ago that I'm experiencing right now. Like, in time, we are linked, over the years, linked in this one moment of just like, boom, the music going in the dark theater. It is amazing. It was really great. It was a treat. And as anybody knows, if there's one thing I love, it's a good villain. And who's a better villain than Vader and the Emperor Palpatine? Anytime Palpatine is up on that screen, it is just like, yes, dude, he is so good. He's got some of the coldest, hardest clapbacks ever, dude, in the universe. He is the emperor of clapbacks, dude. There's a line where Luke is like, what does he say? He's like, your overconfidence is your overconfidence is your weakness. And then the emperor just turns back, your faith in your friends is yours. Blah, blah, clap that. You should have Vader in the background like, oh, shit, Luke, you just got roasted. Or, just any time when he's just sitting in the chair, just like, come on, do it. Just pick up your weapon. I'm helpless. Strike me down and you become more powerful than you're ever imagined. His whole voice and delivery is just so juicily evil. It's great. Everything that has transpired has been by my design. So good. And then hearing James Earl Jones bumping through the speakers, man, it is just beautiful. That part where he's like, I know that Anakin Skywalker is still in there. He's like, that name, it means nothing to me. Like, fuck yeah, dude. And you know what else was a bit of a... I mean, I feel like I've always kind of... I feel like everybody's kind of had the vibe, right? But, like, I don't know. Maybe it was, like... Maybe it's been a while since I've sat and watched Return. Maybe it's been a while since I've sat and watched, like, all the parts that don't involve Luke Skywalker. Because it's like... When someone asks, like, who's your favorite Star Wars character, I feel like the cool answer is Han Solo. Like, that's the cool answer. But if I really look within, my answer has always been Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is the dude, man. He is, like, my guy. And Mark Hamill is just so awesome. But... yeah, to see him on the screen, the interactions, him and Vader, just so good. Man, but yeah, there's a moment where it's like, ugh, Han Solo is a dick. There's a part where, okay, well, I mean, famously in Empire Strikes Back, right before he's frozen in carbonite, he does the famous, Leia's like, I love you. And he's, I know, which is like, all right. I'll give you a pass on that one because it's probably one of the coolest lines that a dude can deliver. So it's like, all right, you didn't get the I love you return, but it was so cool that you get like a pass. Like, all right. Cut to Return of the Jedi. He's still frozen, gets thawed out, and like he's like, oh, I can't see, I'm blind. Who are you? And Leia, it's someone who loves you very much. And it's like, all right, that's number 2 on the I love you. And he's just like, Leia, awesome. No I love you. No, like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. It's just like, oh, Leia, thanks for coming to rescue me. And then later, when he's splitting and he's giving the keys to Lando, and he's like, yo, hey, enjoy that Falcon. And he's sitting there, like, staring at it. And she's like, what's wrong? And he's like, I don't know. Just got the strangest feeling that I'm never going to see her again. And if I was Leia, dude, hey, you fuckhead. I don't know if you realize this. I've told you that I love you twice, and you've completely blown me off both times. Oh, did we mention that I rescued your frozen carbonated ass? What the hell, man? And now you're getting all broken up about a spaceship? Hey, Han Solo, I'm a real human being over here. How about you show me a little love? What the fuck? It's like, oh, Han Solo, kind of a one-way street in this relationship. I don't know. And then just the fact that she's a princess. Hey, Han Solo, maybe show a little, like, appreciation. Jesus. But that was like a real realization I had sitting there, like, ugh, dude. Han Solo is not really a two-way street on that relationship, but it was still amazing to see. It was still, and then it was also I kinda wish it was like the old version, because it was like this slightly newer, updated digital version where they have just like random background CGI creatures, or there's that part where that whole CGI band. It is so out of nowhere. I would love to watch the original because it's like, I don't think that whole scene exists. I remember the part where the girl in the chain is like struggling and then she falls down into the Rancor pit, but they really took liberty and added this whole music video of this like it's so crazy, and it's so like 2001 technology in this 1980 movie, so it's just like, what the fuck? But still, it was really great. Then you got those weird bonus scenes too of like, hey, cut to Naboo, where everyone's celebrating, and Coruscant, everyone's celebrating. It's like, I don't remember seeing this in the original. Still cool though. Always always down to see Star Wars in theaters. And then was also doing my research on the other upcoming films because it's almost May. We're knocking on the door. And May brings with it a few new releases like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Been doing my homework on that one, rewatching 1 and 2. I might have to dip into some Endgame action too because I realize that the Guardians are like much more involved in those movies than I previously remember. Like the whole Gamora thing, she goes and then comes back. So I might have to skim through and get caught up on all the Guardian moments of the Endgame movies. Looking forward to Volume 3. 1 is really good. I've always enjoyed Guardians Volume 1. Volume 2 is kind of your classic sequel. So tough to make the second one better than the first, and there is a lull even with the addition. I feel like that's what saves it is Kurt Russell. God, I love Kurt Russell so much. Even as an old man, he has the greatest hair that's ever existed. But yeah, I feel like he makes up for a lot of what's not good in that movie. It's like, if Kurt Russell wasn't in it, I don't know how much I'd be into it either. Volume 3, looking forward. Volume 3 should be interesting. It's got a real vibe of I don't even know. Are the Guardians continuing after this? Everyone's getting older. Guardians have been around for a minute. I know that for sure Drax is going, right? I think Batista has made it very clear that he's over it. And I think he's trying to step away. So I think we can safely say no more Batista. Who else? I mean, I don't even know. We'll see, I guess. And then, oh yeah, then it's FFX. Fast and Furious 10. Should be action-packed. Oh, that's one thing I keep forgetting to do is to look up the runtime because that's the biggest problem with the Fast and Furious franchise, which is a franchise that I love. But there's one major flaw, and it's that their movies are getting too long, dude. If there's one thing Fast and Furious should never do, it's push it past 2 hours. Even if you're dipping into even the 2-hour mark seems like it's too much. Fast and Furious should always be between an hour and a half and an hour and 45. That's the one that works. Anytime you're stretching it more than that, you're opening yourself up to a lot of just not good. It works when it's Fast and Furious, right? It doesn't work when it's 3+ hours. Man, I remember that last movie getting brutal at a certain point. It starts out fine, but then at a certain point, it's hey man, this is going on too long. I can only shut my brain off and accept insanity for like I said, it's an hour and a half, 2-hour limits, and then I have to check out. Then it's just too much. But having said that, looking forward to it, and I'm going to throw this out there too. I know I've said it before, but I refuse to stop saying it until I'm proven correct. Jason Momoa is totally a red herring in this one. He is totally a distraction from the main villain, who is going to be Vin Diesel's dad, dude. I know it. It has to be the dad. It has to be family. It's not going to be just random Jason Momoa who's sup, I'm here to fuck shit up. No, dude, it has to be. And this is 10? Dude, you're talking about the end of the franchise, and you're not going to have it be the dad who, they set it up to an insane amount in the last movie. That's all they talked about was man, he was a bad dude, and he tried to make us do bad stuff. But you know what? We're not bad, so I said no. And that was the last we ever talked. I don't really see that guy anymore. So looking forward to it, and I know it's part 1 and part 2, so part 1's going to be a lot of yeah, you think it's Momoa, but the real villain is the dad, dude. The real villain is Papa Toretto, who I don't know who it's going to be. Somebody said Sylvester Stallone, which is a solid choice, dude. Sylvester Stallone, the amount of old dudes that could possibly be Vin Diesel's dad is slightly limited, but Sylvester Stallone is a good choice, and he's still spry enough to, drive a car or whatever. But we'll see. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a action-packed May. I don't think there's a lot, not a lot coming out of May, but two biddies, Guardians and Fast and Furious. We'll see what goes down with those ones. And then also coming out in May, at the end of May, I believe, May 27. It's like the last Sunday of May. It's The Gathering. It's the calling, the gathering of the Kyles. Oh, you heard me correct. Every Kyle has been called. They sent out the Kyle signal. There was a big K in the sky, and they're calling us. Every Kyle has that feeling when they wake up. They're drawn to Texas, Kyle, Texas. There's a town in Texas called Kyle, Texas, famous for their pie, if I remember correctly. I was looking it up, and they got this big old pie festival, or like a Kyle fair or something. And at this Kyle fair, there's going to be plenty of pie, plenty of barbecue, lots of ribs on the grill, and there's going to be a Guinness World Record attempt at the most Kyles gathered into one place, which is already insane that it's not an American record. It's held by Switzerland or Sweden. I remember I looked it up. I can't remember, but I remember the name. It's held by a bunch of Ivans, 2,000 something Ivans all got together, and they currently hold the Guinness World Record. And that's about to change thanks to a bunch of Kyles. Which is already kind of shocking. It's hey, come on, America. Hey, come on, America. You're going to let a bunch of Ivans hold the record? You're telling me we don't have more Johns or Bobs or what's another totally plain American name? Steves? Come on. Tyler? There's got to be a bunch of Tylers. If you're doing the attempt with Kyle, there's got to be just as many Tylers. But it's also the third or fourth attempt that Kyle, Texas has done to make this world record happen, and it's I'm very tempted to go. It sounds interesting. It would be kind of cool to meet up with so many other Kyles, have a big old battle for a lifetime supply of Monster or something. That's always one. Is it even a stereotype? That's always one thing that's always bothered me about Kyle. Is anytime you see a meme or ooh, it's Kyle juice, and some white dude pounding a Monster. I have never liked Monster. I cannot stand Monster. Monster is so sweet. I feel like I'm drinking a liquid cotton candy. But yeah, the gathering of the Kyles. It has a real Highlander vibe to it. Am I walking into a trap? Is this going to be a big battle royale where there can be only one Kyle left remaining? Kind of reminds me of The One, starring Jet Li. Man, I used to love that movie. I haven't seen that movie in forever. But it was oh man, you want to talk about the multiverse? Oh, Marvel thinks they're so cool with their multiverse. This was the original multiverse back in 2001 with Papa Roach on the soundtrack. Cut my life into pieces, dun, dun, this is my last resort, boom, suffocation, burnt, now breathing. I remember they played that at the end of the movie, and it is a banger, dude, when he goes to the prison planet. Well, first of all, if you haven't seen The One, what's the matter with you, dude? The One, where Jet Li goes to all the different multiverses and kills himself so he can be the only Jet Li left. And every time he kills one, he gets stronger. Dude, what an awesome premise. And then you get Jet Li playing the good guy and the bad guy, and then he's fighting himself. Awesome. 11-year-old me was yeah. And then that's also a vintage Jason Statham. You want to see one of the rare appearances of Jason Statham's hair? Check out The One, because it's probably one of the few movies where he's still got a little bit of hair. Although he is rocking, like, I think we're both kind of similar. Like, we both have, like, the Vegeta. He's, like, really drawing it back. But every day, more and more like the Prince of the Saiyans over here. But, yeah, Jason Statham, although he is receding heavy, he still technically has hair in that movie, which is a rare sight. And Jet Li is the man in that movie, dude. Oh, God, I love the ending to that movie. It is amazing. Spoilers, if you haven't seen it, 2001. Dude, that's like 20 years ago. 20 plus. Your fault by now. You don't even need a spoiler for The One. But he gets sent to, like, the prison planet or, like, the prison multiverse or whatever. It is so ridiculously badass. He just, like, walks to the top of the pyramid and he's like, what does he say? He's like, I don't need to know you. You only need to know me. I am nobody's bitch. I will be the one. And then it just fucking playing that Papa Roach while he's just like fighting an endless army on top of this pyramid, dude. And then the camera just fades. It is like amazing, dude. 11-year-old me was like, yeah, suffocation, Jet Li is the awesome. So much fun, that movie. But yeah, this has got that real vibe at the Kyle, Texas, the gathering of the Kyles. I'm going to run in there. You don't need to know me. No, I don't need to know you. You only need to know me. I will be the one. Just start kicking everyone's ass. Go in there with a big speaker playing Papa Roach. Everyone's like, oh shit, he's the one. Suffocation, no bleeding. Oh man, what a 2001 song that is. Papa Roach. Haven't heard that in a while. But the gathering of the Kyle, it is intriguing. It is interesting. We'll see if we end up going. It's pretty far. But it is like a fair, like a whole, it seems like they got plenty going on. And there is like an airport in Texas, Kyle, Texas. So I think it's like locally I could fly potentially. I'm going to start looking at some flight prices and then go see if I could be the only Kyle left standing. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. We could probably wrap it and tap it right there. I think we're close enough to the mark. Not bad on this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure you slap that like and subscribe because it's much appreciated. I am your host as always, Kyle McLemore. We'll see you next time on the pod.